Now then, what about these 10 kings we mentioned, represented by the 10 toes? If you will turn to the 7th chapter of the book of Daniel, and verses 23 and 24, you will find the interpretation of this part of this chapter 7 of Daniel, and you will find the answer to what kings are referred to, that the God of, in whose days the God of heaven is going to set up a kingdom. Now look at verse 23, and explaining this fourth beast of the book of Daniel 7. He explains in verse 23 that beast to be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, the same as the iron on the image, you see. The fourth metal, iron, represented the fourth kingdom. This fourth beast, Daniel 7, represents the fourth kingdom, the old Roman Empire. And in verse 24 it says, out of this kingdom shall come how many kings? How many? 10. Look at verse 8 of this 7th chapter. He considered this vision, and he saw that the beast had 10 horns. And he saw them growing out of the head of this beast. Then he saw another little horn coming out of those 10 horns. And it plucked up 3 of the 10 horns with the roots. So in verse 24, that's explained for us. He said the 10 horns are 10 kings that shall arise where? Out of this kingdom. That is, inside this kingdom. Inside the old Roman Empire territory. Now here's the Roman Empire territory here. Out of these countries of England, France, Holland, Belgium, Switzerland, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Yugoslavia, Albania, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, Turkey, Iraq, Iran, Transjordan, Palestine, Egypt, all these countries. Out of these countries will come how many kings? 10. Now notice in verse 12, verses 13 and 14 of this 7th chapter, the God of heaven is going to give to Jesus Christ a kingdom that all peoples, all languages should serve him forever. Now these 10 horns are explained as coming from within the old Roman Empire, you see, corresponding to the 10 toes on the image. And in the days of these 10 kings, the God of heaven is going to set up a kingdom in the world. Now how many kings are now inside, or how many governments are now inside the old Roman Empire? 24. Those 24 must be brought down to these 10, fulfilling the scripture concerning the 10 toes and the 10 horns. Now you might say, when are those 10 going to be in existence? Well, in the days that the God of heaven is going to set up a kingdom in the world, in the day of the coming of Jesus Christ to the earth, with the raptured saints to set up a kingdom in the world. Now to prove that, let's go to one more scripture. In the 17th chapter of the book of Revelation, and verse 8, we have an explanation of this beast of Revelation. The beast, Revelation 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, and 20. This beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Now look at the 8th verse of the 17th of Revelation. The beast which thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. Now then, all that dwell upon the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world, when they behold or see the beast that was, and is not, yet is or shall be. Here is wisdom, verse 9. The 7 heads on which the woman sitteth are 7 kingdoms. 5 are fallen, and they are these: Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece. 5 are fallen. 1 is the old Roman Empire at the time John saw the revelation. The other John, the 7th, made up of the 10 kingdoms, is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. But the beast, he isn't any one of those 7 kingdoms, but he is the 8th. Verse 11. He is the 8th. So here are 8 kingdoms we have in Revelation now. Now look at verse 12, the explanation of the 10 horns. The 10 horns, Mr. John, are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Verse 14, these, the 10, shall make war on the Lamb. Who is the Lamb? Jesus Christ. Proving, you see, those 10 are going to be alive and in existence the very day that Christ comes. For the 10 will give their power to the Antichrist of the future, and they together will make war on the Lamb. But the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is King of kings and Lord of lords, and they that are with him, that is the armies of heaven, are called, chosen, and faithful. Now in verse 16 it says, these, the 10, shall hate the whore, and shall burn her flesh with fire, and make her desolate and naked. For God hath put it in their hearts to agree and give their kingdom to the beast, till the words of God should be fulfilled. Thus we have the explanation in Daniel that the 10 horns are 10 kings inside the Roman Empire territory. You have the explanation in Revelation that the 10 horns are going to be in existence in the very day that Christ comes with the armies of heaven to set up this eternal kingdom. So when you read Daniel 2:44 again, where it says, in the days of these kings, the 10 kings, the last form of this image made up of 10 toes, you see. In the days of these 10 kings, symbolized by the 10 toes and the 10 horns, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Thus you see in the first prophecy of Daniel, the first vision interpreted for us, we have Daniel picturing for us world empires from the day of Daniel about 616 BC right on through all eternity. Now that's quite a long time to see something, isn't it? I suppose you'd get up tonight and make a prophecy that it's going to rain tomorrow. Would you dare guess? Would you dare prophesy, any of you? And suppose you'd say the rain is going to come from the east. That'd be harder yet to fulfill, wouldn't it? Then you say it's going to start promptly at 10 o'clock. Then you say it's going to be accompanied with hail, and the hailstones are going to be as big as a water pail. You begin to scratch your head by that time to hear a prophet like that, wouldn't you? And those big hailstones are going to kill 45,000 people in the city of Atlanta. And you go on, multiply details, with each detail added, make it harder of fulfillment, wouldn't it? Get the idea? Here's a man that comes along and by the inspiration of God tells us all about 5 great world empires, and the God of heaven's kingdom, the 6th one, being set up in the day of the 5th one, and telling us that that kingdom is going to last as long as eternity lasts. That's quite a span to prophesy something, isn't it? From Daniel's day right on through. All right, now Daniel does not give the whole of the length of the times of the Gentiles. We'll deal with that another night. The times of the Gentiles are illustrated here on the chart by this black line. Most Bible charts you have ever seen have that line coming here with the head of Nebuchadnezzar. And most sermons and books you read on the times of the Gentiles begin the times of the Gentiles with Nebuchadnezzar. But that isn't where to start the times of the Gentiles. There were 2 kingdoms back of Nebuchadnezzar that persecuted the Jews in the times of the Gentiles. Daniel could not possibly see the times of the Gentiles back of his day, since he is giving a prophetic view of what's going to happen, not what has happened and what's going to happen. He's not giving us history. He's just telling us of kingdoms from his day on. So men studying the book of Daniel, they automatically conclude, without even thinking about it, evidently, that Daniel is giving us the whole length of the times of the Gentiles, but he is not. He's just giving the times of the Gentiles from his day on. John in the book of Revelation tells us that there are 8 kingdoms in the times of the Gentiles. 5 before he saw the revelation. 1 was at the time he saw the revelation. The 7th was yet to be, made up of the 10 kingdoms. And the 8th one, the kingdom of the Antichrist, 8 world empires, and they are these: Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, Rome, and what we call the revised Roman Empire, and the kingdom of the Antichrist. 8 empires. 2 empires yet future. The last one will come out of the 10 kingdoms. That little horn comes out of the 10, overthrows 3 other. The other of the 10 give their kingdom to him. Then he reigns the last 42 months of this age. And the 11 kings fight with Jesus Christ at the Battle of Armageddon, together with many other kings, of course. Then Christ defeats them and sets up a kingdom in the world forever, even forever and ever. Now that's a gist of the 2nd chapter of the book of Daniel, of that great image that Nebuchadnezzar dreamed about.